These reminders are support for all those who want to bring more understanding, more clarity, more insight into their life and become more free. Because this is the way for the human being to become alive in a healthy sense. This is the way for the human being to discover the potential of joy, potential of love, potential of freedom, potential of playfulness and creativity. Because the more you are in touch with yourself in a deeper sense, the more you understand the nature of the reality and become capable to live intelligently. The first reminder is a very simple step. Everybody knows that when a child is born, it is just looking at everything through the eyes of innocence. What is this innocence? Try to understand it very carefully first. Innocence is where you are not trapped in any knowledge, where you are not trapped in an idea of your being this or that. Innocence is a state where you are, but has not yet entered into the game of the duality. Interestingly, when someone asks Jesus, who among us can enter into the kingdom of God? He pointed to a little child who was there and said, those who will again become like this little child will enter into the kingdom of God, into the paradise, into this dimension where one is in tune with the wholeness of the reality. It's a very valuable hint because once you understand that this was your inner state, your somebodyness is not essential and your somebodyness is going on changing, and it can go on changing further. But what you essentially am, where you come to when you are not holding to any idea of who you are or what you are, is that original state of child, the state of innocence. The child is not comparing, is not competing, it is not judging, it is not defensive, it is not following any fear, it is not following any prejudice. It is simply here, simply present, simply wakeful. So this is the background I want you to consider, and with this consideration, take about 7 times a day, wherever you have possibility to be few moments. Just to look through the eyes of innocence. Look through the eyes of innocence without judgment. Look at yourself, look at everything around, consciously, deliberately. Take say 5 minutes to 10 minutes or more or less. But take deliberately time just to look without going into any judgment, any comparison, any effort to label it as good or bad, right or wrong, superior or inferior. And just look at yourself and everybody in this way. This I would recommend you to do at least 7 times a day. It's a playful way to disentangle yourself from all the roles, all the goals, all the conditionings which you have gotten into and which has become unconsciously, hypnotically, your idea of yourself through which you are projecting, interpreting, and also getting trapped. So take deliberately 7 times a day this few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, to look, consider, be with that state of innocence, and allow that deepen in you. Experiment with it. This is one reminder. And the second reminder is connected with another very basic insight. This insight was actually one of the basics of the teachings of Buddha. He sought after the truth and the way to become free from the suffering and misery in life. And came to the insight, came to the understanding that behind all the suffering and misery and pain, there is some kind of desire working in oneself. So look, in all moments where you feel unhappy, disappointed, bitter, sad, angry, hurt, feeling rage, any of these negative states where you get pulled into. Before you identify with it and go into it blindly, if you can stop some moments and ask the question, is there a desire working in me? Is there any expectation? Is there any longing? Is there any wish which is undercurrently there behind it? You have to be ruthlessly honest. You have to continuously look what is really behind. So take time like this. And this will be very, very valuable. Because when you would really see that it is so, it has a tremendous impact for your life. Because first of all, it will give you a certain kind of strength. The strength where you see that you don't need to be helplessly a victim who has to suffer and be in the pain and all the negative emotions blindly. You have a chance because it is connected with something which you can decide within. When you notice, for example, it is connected with a particular desire, then you can also see that either you can go on holding to the desire and then give energy to this suffering process, or you can say, okay, I just drop this desire. I don't go into this desire. I don't cling to this desire. And you will be surprised that when you make inwardly a decision not to cling to this desire, your suffering has no basis. All that anxiety, pain, worry has no power over you. So experiment. This is something which you need to experiment, and then let it become your understanding. This indication from Buddha is a very significant insight. And I would recommend to everybody to experiment with it in all these moments where you come into any negative state, whether it is anger, irritation, disappointment, bitterness, any kind of suffering, any kind of lostness, anything which is drowning you into a state of inner darkness. Question, inquire, and look. Is there any desire? Is there any wish? Is there any longing? Any expectation which is working in me? And let it become conscious to you. So this is a very basic thing. That is why those who are starting to earnestly go into understanding themselves only can go into such exercises. It is not just something to engage yourself philosophically and theoretically and pass time. It simply requires an honest, courageous encounter with all that what is working in you. So experiment with this, let it become your own insight and understanding, and it has a great and tremendous value for your life because it makes you in a certain deeper sense free. It makes you aware that you have the possibility not to settle in any kind of negative state. You have the chance to clear the energy and to be free. So these are the two reminders. Experiment with it and allow it to become a help. They are very valuable, they are very significant. And those who wholeheartedly go into it will be finding it very deeply supportive.